My family kicked me out at 18, calling me a failure. A decade later, I bought their bankrupt company. Now I'm firing them one by one. Hello Reddit I plus here. I still remember the night they threw me out like yesterday. I was 18, standing on the front porch with nothing but a duffel bag, and the sound of my dad's voice ringing in my ears. You're lazy, Logan. A loser. You'll never be anything. Mom just stood there, arms crossed, nodding along like she hadn't spent years pretending to care. My older brother, Mason, smirked like he'd won something. They were done with me. Just like that. Fine. I was done with them too. The next few years were hell. I crashed on friends' couches, worked crap jobs, and ate more ramen than I care to admit. But I never stopped grinding. While they were laughing about how I'd probably end up flipping burgers forever, I was teaching myself everything I could about business, tech, and investments. Sleep was optional. Failure wasn't. By 22, I'd started my own consulting company, helping struggling businesses modernize their systems. By 25, I was making more in a month than my parents made in a year. And by 28, well, that's when the real fun began. Because at 28, I bought their company. Carter & Sons Manufacturing was failing. Bad leadership, outdated practices, and honestly, just stupidity at the top. I kept an eye on it for years, waiting for the right moment. And when the stock dipped low enough, I swept in and bought controlling shares before they even knew what hit them. That's how I ended up here today. Sitting in my office, calling in each family member one by one. First up, my brother Mason. He strutted in like he still ran the place, cocky as ever. That smug look vanished the second he saw me in the CEO's chair. What the hell are you doing here? He snapped. I leaned back, real casual. Oh, didn't you hear? I own the company now. His face turned red. Bullshit. I slid a folder across the desk. Your termination papers. Effective immediately. He didn't take them, just stared at me, mouth opening and closing like a fish. You can't fire me. I'm family. I grinned. Yeah, I know. One down, my mom was next. She walked in, all haughty, ready to play the concerned mother act. Logan, sweetheart, there's been a mistake. No mistake, I said, handing her a folder. You're fired. Tears welled up in her eyes. Logan, I'm your mother. I shrugged. And I was your son. But that didn't stop you from kicking me out, did it? She started begging. I didn't care. Finally, my dad. The man who called me a loser, who laughed as I walked away with nothing. He sat down, arms crossed, trying to act tough. I suppose you think this is funny, he said. I smiled. Oh, I think it's hilarious. I slid his termination papers across the desk. You're done, old man. Pack up your shit and get out. He glared at me, but I saw it. The fear. The regret. He tried to say something, but I held up a hand. You said I'd never be anything, I reminded him. Turns out I'm your boss. Well, I was. Now you're just another ex-employee. I stood up, buttoned my jacket, and walked to the window, looking out over the city. My city. I built this without you, and I'll keep building without you. And just like that, I got the last word. As security escorted my father out of the building, I just stood there, watching. 10 years ago, I was a kid with nothing. Now I owned everything they thought I'd never have. Power, success, control, and the best part? They had to watch me take it all from them. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. The silence was deafening now that all three of them were gone. Mason, Mom, Dad, out of my company. It should have felt like the perfect victory, but instead, something nagged at me. I glanced at my assistant, Sarah, who had been standing by the door watching the whole thing unfold. She raised an eyebrow. So what now, boss? Throw a party? I smirked. Tempting, but I'm not done yet. Because here's the thing. Buying the company and firing them, that was just phase one. Now, I had to make sure the Carter name, the name they clung to like it was some symbol of greatness, would be known for something other than their failures. I grabbed my phone and dialed my head of PR. Get the press release ready. I want it out within the hour. Sarah tilted her head. Press release? I nodded. Yeah, something about new leadership, a fresh start, and restructuring. And make sure it mentions that Richard Carter's management was directly responsible for the company's downfall. Her eyes widened, and then she let out a low whistle. Damn, you're not just burying them, you're burning the whole damn house down. Damn right I am. See, it wasn't enough to fire them. I wanted to erase them. I wasn't just taking the company, I was taking their legacy. Phase 2, rebuilding the empire. The next few months were a whirlwind. Under my leadership, Carter and Sons. No, scratch that. I rebranded it to Carter Industries. Started making headlines, but for the right reasons. Outdated equipment, gone, wasteful spending, cut, toxic leadership, fired. I hired fresh talent, people who actually knew what they were doing, not just ones who had the right last name. The company was bleeding when I bought it, but I stitched it up and made it stronger than ever. The best part? Profits skyrocketed, and guess who came crawling back? The pathetic apologies. First, it was my mother. She left me a voicemail, her voice shaking like she'd been crying for hours. Logan, honey, we made a mistake. We were just trying to push you to be better. We love you, baby. Can we talk? Then, Mason. He actually showed up at my office, looking about as humble as a kicked puppy. Look, man, he started, rubbing the back of his neck. I was a dick to you, okay? But we're brothers. We should stick together. I just stared at him. You had 10 years to be my brother. He swallowed hard. I need a job, Logan. Please. I smiled. Oh, I'm sure you'll find something. Maybe flipping burgers? The same thing he used to mock me for. He clenched his jaw, but he didn't argue. He just walked out, shoulders slumped. And finally, my father. The man who had laughed in my face when I begged for a second chance all those years ago. I got an email from him, short and desperate. Logan, I need to talk to you. Please. I replied with exactly one word. No. A year later, Carter Industries was a giant, bigger than ever. And my family? They were nothing but a bad memory. People like to say success is the best revenge. I disagree. The best revenge is making them realize they were wrong and knowing they can never undo it. And me? I wasn't done yet. This was just the beginning.